Hello friends, welcome to my program Colonel's Punch. Today is day 500 of the horrendous Russo-Ukraine war 222-23. Well, on this day, President Zenesky landed on the Snakes Island and congratulated his troops for wonderful battle. Now remember, on 24th Feb 222, on the very first day, Snake Island fell. And after about 3 months, in June, the Russians evacuated it because they were scared of the arty fire. What Zenesky said was, we had recaptured the Snakes Island and we will capture every inch of our territory taken by Russia. Now, it's clear that on the 500th day, Russia has lost the war by just not winning it. Zenesky has lost the war by fighting in his own territory. That's a criminal mistake. You are getting your own men and killed, civilians, all missing, displaced, refugees. With that, you must understand that President Putin and the Russian army has made a wild mistake. Remember the Battle of Kursk in 1943, Second World War. It was the biggest tank battle where over 4,000 tanks were destroyed and ICVs destroyed. Now, what really came into play was General Rasputin, that is extreme bad weather. Same thing has happened. It is this time General mud and snow and slush. Now Russia on 24th February 2022 just rolled out its tanks and the world was grasped on 5 thrust lines and it covered a vast 2,500 kilometers. Now there was parity of forces on both sides, and that's how Russia was stalled. Now, remember, when the Russians moved in the Crimean War in 214, there was no fight back. Zenesky and Ukraine had learned a lesson and they had put successive defense lines. They had practiced it. They had put missiles and had drones hovering over. So all thrust lines were covered. And they had the latest missile systems and drones. You know, the Turkey one. And the Americans and the UK shoulder-fired missiles. So they were all prepared. And they had a very robust command and control. I'll not go into details because I've covered this in the first 4 parts of my Russia-Ukraine war. Now remember, on 24th Feb, Russia and Putin thought that he will be welcomed as a Slav hero and his forces will just topple Kiev and they'll get what they want. But this did not happen. Because of rain and snow, the entire combat armies, tanks and armor, mechanized vehicles and fuel vehicles, they all got bogged down. And it is here where the defiant Ukrainians came out and destroyed thousands of tanks. It was just about 40 kilometers from Kiev on the line of Bucha that the Russians came to a grinding halt. General Rasputin had worked for Ukraine. It's a sheer willpower. And they came out ambushed with their shoulder-fired, man-packed missile systems, and then Stringers missiles for the air. And Russian army just came to a standstill. Over 2,000 tanks and armored vehicles were destroyed. This was a big jolt, and it was time for President Putin to call off his special ops phase 1. He says he has to save face. He said that he's achieved his target, and now he'll go towards the other, towards east, and capture those areas. Now, let us wait here for a moment. Russia and President Putin's first objective was to capture and invest Kiev and Kharkiv and other places. The second objective was to liberate Donbass and thereby get a land route to Crimea. Now, we'll work on these two objectives now. Putin's major aim was to demilitarize and denullify Ukraine. And it is in this Donbass region, which is dominated by a Russian population. Neo-Nazists of Ukraine had created havoc, and Putin wanted to liberate them. Now, in this total region, I'll just talk about two battles. And the first one is Mariupol, the port city, strongly defended by the Azov regiment. Now, Azov regiment is this extreme neo-Nazi regiment. You know, their soldiers have got earrings and all sorts of marks of some of Hitler. Now, these are very strong people, and they had, in the past, done damage to the Russia. Now, they are holding very strong defenses. They had nearly 2 naval infantry brigades and RT and armored regiments and brigades. So therefore it was a very strong cluster. And close to it was the Azovstal iron and steel mill. I'll speak of it a little later. Now, though the attack started on 24th Feb, but actually the month of March, April, May, for 3 months, it was eye-to-eye battle. And direct firing weapons, guns, artillery, armor, missiles. Over 25,000 resolute civilians were killed. A theatre having 600 refugees was bombed, and all of them died. It was a massacre of the worst order seen. Now, with all this going on, Russia realized that the queen of the battle, the infantry was not with them, and they were suffering. So here comes the brutal Chechen Ramzan Kadri's forces. No, they were brutal. They will cut down anything. And they were really a big threat, as they were in the final stages of the Battle of Mariupol. They moved from door to door, window to window. They were good at it, and they started clearing streets after streets, buildings after buildings. And finally, on 20th May, after 3 months of resistance, Mariupol fell. There was a number of times the UN humanitarian routes were opened, safety routes, and over 50,000 civilians were taken off. Still, 25,000 civilians were killed, and today thousands of graves are being found. Now let's come to the Battle of Azovstal iron and steel mill. Now this was a 24-kilometer frontage. Now let's come to Azovstal's iron and steel mill. It was 12 square kilometers. It was a fortress city. Now, it had nearly 24 kilometers of tunnels, 6 levels of underground buildings, each housing soldiers, hospitals, ammunition bays. It was a real fortress, and it had 5 nuclear protected halls or shelters. No, it was something, which actually the Russians had made in the Second World War, and these people had cleared and fortified it, the Ukrainians. And it was a tough nut to crack with, tanks inside, guns, and the Azov regiment, which used to keep moving from there into Mariupol and create hell. Now, once Mariupol fell, Azovstal the steel mill was surrounded from all sides, and tanks were there, and they punished it. They fought back like tigers. This neo-Nazi and Ukrainian army really fought back, and they are called the heroes of the battle, heroes of the year. So therefore, this battle went on for 3 months, and finally it fell on 20th May. 200 heroes came out alive, and they were transported to Turkey. What I was wanting to tell you was, because the Russian army had modernized and mechanized itself, it had left the infantry element. And the tanks get separated from infantry and they became easy targets. So that is where the famous Azovstal regiment finally was captured and destroyed. But thousands of these people are there in Donbass region. Now the battle has shifted to Bakhmut. Now this was just a 60,000 population city. And this is called the meat grinder. Attack, counterattack, attack, counterattack. and thousands of people have been killed. Well, now let's get down to the brass tacks, the Battle of Bakhmut. Well, this was a bloody, blood-soaked trench battle, man to man, street to street, and it's called the meat grinder. Though it started in August 22, but no headway was made. And again, in the counter-offensive in 23, on 20th March till about 2 months, till May, the ding-dong battle went through. It was very important for Ukraine to capture every bit of Bakhmut. But then Russia had other plans. They put in the most hardy, dangerous Wagner group who had fought in Africa, in Syria, Iran. And it consisted of Russian veterans and all those desperados who want to fight. Now these people were inducted and they were very good in urban and guerrilla warfare. So they started pushing, and it was a meat grinder battle. In the end, the Russians came out, and with this, they broke the Ukraine counteroffensive. Not only that, the Ukraine morale also went down. And only thing was Wagner had to pay a very heavy price. Over 20,000 were killed and injured. And Wagner protested that he was not getting ammunition, arms, and he was being ill-treated. And finally, that dramatic move toward Moscow. But then, the battle is not yet over. It is not the end of the end. Coming down to the Ukraine counteroffensive. Well, Ukraine has got over 1 trillion worth of latest arms, ammunition, tanks, air defense guns, and it has been preparing for a counteroffensive. It has got long-range artillery now. The delay has given the Russians a great chance to rebuild its defenses and fortifications. They have constructed a 1,000-kilometer long trench line with zigzag dragon teeth, armed with anti-tank and anti-missile defenses. Now, a stalemate has been reached, and it is going to be very difficult for Ukraine to regain its territory in Donbass. And in the meantime, on 23rd June, the Kharkov Dam was blasted, and the whole water has spread over 150 to 200 square kilometers, making any move of armor impossible. Therefore, the battle from here is going to be ding-dong, and a stalemate has been reached. Now, coming down to the peace strategy, well, it all depends on what Henry Kissinger said, that Ukraine will have to trade territory for peace. But I don't think Ukraine will ever, because we are going towards a doomsday war. Remember, the American president who was carrying a football nuclear, briefcase. Now he could, that also he carried to UK, and there were the ladies who were carrying it, lady officers. Now they mean business, that's right. Russia means business. They have moved their forward nuclear weapons to Belarus, and it's all going to be a push-button warfare. China has warned Russia not to use it, the tactical nuclear weapon. Therefore, some sanity will prevail. But then you got Zenesky, who's lost nearly 51,000 square kilometers of land. That the entire east is gone. Crimea is gone. And Putin sitting tight with all this, and he has opened his land route, and then he's got the Black Sea under his control. Therefore, Ukraine will have to wait. NATO has already taken in Finland and Sweden. And a little delay and a pause and a peace talk with negotiations will give them time to get over to NATO. Let us see what happens. Remember, peace is very important. And what Mahatma Gandhi ji had said, an eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. So therefore, let's work on the Indian values of Vasudev Kutumbakam. That means the whole world is a family. Jai Hind.